Hi students, welcome back to Social Studies with your teacher Miss Eugenie Castillo. This week we will be talking about how political parties prepare for elections in Belize and the Caribbean as well. So the basic summary of this presentation: 1. Parliamentary elections are very expensive. 2. Parliamentary and local elections are very competitive events and are usually conducted along similar lines. 3. Parliamentary and local government elections are usually held within statutory time periods. Right? So municipal elections might be every 3 years, while general elections might be every 5 years. There is a set time for the elections to occur. So important things to note, right? In Belize, the Prime Minister may call general elections at any time, though no more than 5 years should pass before a general election is held. All seats in the House of Representatives are vacant, and the political party that wins the most seats in the subsequent general elections form the government. We spoke about this already when we were speaking about the first past the post system. Whichever party wins the most seats, they make up the government. Right? So aside from the general elections, for which all seats are open, by-elections are held when a member of parliament dies or resigns. Right? So rest in peace to Honorable David Dida Vega, right, who died in 2021 from COVID complications. But when he passed away, there could have been a by-election to find someone to fill his place. Right, so the Prime Minister's power of discretion adds an element of spontaneity to the electoral process that does not exist in systems where voting dates are fixed on the calendar. So the Prime Minister here in Belize usually decides on when the next election is going to occur. There is no set date that says 5 years from now, November 25th, we are going to have elections. No. When the time comes closer, the Prime Minister will decide when the elections will occur. If he sees an opening, an opportunity that his party might be able to win based on events that are happening at the time, he is going to call elections sooner, or he is going to call elections later on in that time. Prime Ministers generally ask the monarch, the formal head of state, to dissolve parliament when they think their party has the best chance of winning a general election. As I just stated, the Prime Minister waits until an opportunity presents itself, or if something happened that can influence people to vote against his or her party, they can wait until that situation blows over before they proceed to call elections. So how do political parties prepare for elections? And before we even go into that, let's just go through a fun fact, right? So any person in Belize, any Belizean citizen who is 21 years of age or older can run up to be a part of parliament, right? So that person is eligible for election to the House of Representatives if he or she wishes to be a part of that. So the first way how parties prepare for elections: 1. Parties determine how many candidates they will put into the election, and then they select that number according to the party's procedures for selecting candidates. Usually this happens through conventions, right? So I'm sure some of us are familiar with conventions, political conventions, where candidates are chosen. 2. Candidates finally declare their intention of participating in the election by paying a sum of money into the treasury. Nomination day is set aside for all candidates to formally declare their intention to be a part of the election process, right? To run up for government. Candidates will be nominated by 2 other persons that appear on the electors list for that municipality. 3. Campaign teams are organized by campaign managers. A campaign team headed by a campaign manager is selected to manage the party's election campaign. This team is responsible for mobilizing supporters to help with different aspects of the election campaign. Some of its activities include organizing rallies and press conferences and advertising the party's principles and policies in all sections of the mass media, including the internet, in order to give the party the widest possible media coverage and convince the electorate to vote for that party and its candidates. The team also selects party agents who monitor the electoral process in the polling stations and on polling day. 4. Fundraising activities. Election campaigns are expensive, so political parties have to raise money in order for them to continue activities that will heighten their opportunity to win the elections. Right? So they may engage in fundraising activities. They might get donations from party members and supporters and the business community at large here in Belize. And then 5, they release their manifesto. Right? The manifesto is a document that has the ideas that the party has on how they're going to better the country, the policies, the practices that they propose can better the country. So people want to see what this new government can do better. That will help people to decide who they would go out and vote for when the election actually comes about. 6, holding of public meetings and rallies. Holding public meetings/rallies is another strategy which political parties use to prepare for elections. Popular artists are usually contracted to perform at these events in order to attract a large crowd. The parties use these rallies to try to win the support of the electorate. The critical issue facing the country and the ideas contained in the manifesto are discussed at length during the rallies by specifically chosen speakers. Right? So the governing party at that time highlights what they have done. And then we have the other parties that might speak on ways that the country can become better. And then the electorates, they decide if they're going to go with the opposition, if they're going to give them an opportunity to prove that they can do better, or if they're going to remain with the party that's already in government because they have done so much to better the country. All right. And then we have canvassing, right, where they go from house to house and speak to people about their plans and just how they would want the country to go if they should be voted into parliament, right? And then we have 9 public opinion polls. Public opinion polls are conducted just to see where the party stands, how the public feels about that particular party, and they use that information to re-strategize. Right? That's what they use that information for. And then we have the final slide here, which is campaign financing. Campaign financing has become a very continuous issue in the Caribbean, largely because sources of party finance are usually shrouded in secrecy. The money that they receive are usually held in secrecy. People don't really know where all the finances are coming from. Right? So that's something that's transparent. We are not privy to that information most of the time. Political parties have been accused of accepting money from questionable individuals and groups who are likely to influence government policy if the receiving party is successful in the elections. Right? So when governments or when candidates take money from people of questionable character, they heighten the possibility of corruption within the country, because of course these people who are donating monies towards the convention or the rallies, these people would want to have a say if that particular candidate or if their party is put into government. So it's really a sticky situation, but we will continue this conversation in class. See you this week, students. Goodbye.